Welcome my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated. The Great War against Connacht has just ended. The Second Great War against Connacht has just ended. Munster has defended its possessions. And I think Arthur is on the verge of recognising the family's great goal and great aim over the last number of decades, over the last number of generations. Countless people have died in the O'Brien pursuit of the High Kingship. And if all goes well, we should see that enacted today. We have a couple of things to deal with. We're going to start with... Where are we going to start with? We'll go to our decisions and we will call a hunt. We have... That's knocked us down to 125. We could take that down further by holding a feast at some stage. We might see about that now. We have lost some money. We're going to have to do something about that. We'll start with intrigue. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that we can get claims against. We're going to blackmail Muirin. There's an 100% chance that will be accepted. And we should be able to blackmail them along with... There's a couple of people here that's telling us that we can't actually... demand money from them, but we can. So Malcolm, we couldn't demand money from him in the last episode because he was in debt. Well, he's gotten some money back somehow, and he's going to send some of it to us for our feast and for some other things that we need to finance. Here is somebody else that we have a hook on. Baroness Anya Nick Nula of Canossa. Where in Ireland is Canossa? Where in Ireland is the Holy Roman Empire? So here's Nuala, our cousin, and her husband, who died either in the last episode or the one before it. They were wounded in a training accident by our marshal and died of their wounds, and somehow their daughter Anya, who was born a couple of days, I think, before our daughter Anya, who was sickly, and died after a few months. She has become a baroness, and she has taken that robust trait. She has 219 gold. Come on now, you'll send some of that on to your good old cousin, Arthur. Speaking of our marshal, Fergus, he is stone useless as a marshal, and his traits have actually been dropping. It was a 10 at one stage. We could assign our knight, Majmir, or we could assign Countess Lorne. She's not great, but I think we will indeed assign her. She's a strong vassal, so she wants to be in that position. Could we actually make Fergus our bishop? We could make Adamnoin, Gilla Adamnoin, our bishop. I don't think there's much of a need. He's our court physician at the moment. I have her restoring control in Dal Naradi. It's going to take 7 years. I will probably move them off of that at some stage. Look at that blathering witch lawn. Earl Upmoroin hisses from atop his hunting steed. You had no problem with the last lad. Or with Gillicomon, I mean. Yeah, the last guy. So we could say that we're going to get stress. Oh, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Thanks, Upmoron. Thanks. So we're going to get 40 stress. We're going to get 40 stress. Or we are going to get 5 stress. So Lorne is going to stop endorsing us. We're going to take this option. Again, we are callous. So this does seem to be the option that would make the most sense. But there you go. We try and decrease our stress, and we just get more stressed. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. In Connacht we have had a change in office. Petty King Gilla Adamnoin takes over from his cousin, I believe, following that disastrous war against Munster in the last episode. What has happened to Broin? Broin has died from his wounds. I'm not entirely sure whether they were wounds that he got in battle. I think it was around here in Evonia, where we did battle with him and captured him. Whether it was those wounds or those wounds when we ripped out his eyes, the treacherous devil. So his rule has come to an end. Connacht has now stabilised under a new ruler. However, that alliance into the north of England is gone. And with a new regime in place in Connacht, and with it taking, I think, 4 more years before we could torture either of these two again, I have negotiated Congus's release. We're going to get a hook on Arthgoyle and hopefully get some of that money out of him. So Congus has left, Arthgoyle has given us a hook, and we can demand 10. Do you know what? It's better than nothing. We didn't actually get an end to that hunt event, but it looks to have ended. And we're unfortunately seeing what we kind of expected. Our cousin Congus, his lands are under siege in Dol Clua. Our distant relatives in this region, they are attacking to try and take Lanrig, which belongs to Abdul's daughter, our granddaughter. A rather strange scenario in that area. And at this stage, I think we have no choice but to actually declare war on poor Congus for our claims to the Kingdom of Meath. We could try to take land from Connacht first of all. I'm not too sure if that truce is still in place. We could try to take Connacht first of all. We have a claim to 1 territory in there. Take that and then use that to establish the Kingdom of Ireland and then try and gain the vassalage of these guys in Scotland. I think what we're going to try and do is stabilise our own internal borders instead of having England all over the place and then having chunks of us up in Scotland. And of course, we have to take Meath, which contains Tara. The idea that the ancient capital of Ireland is not actually part of the future Kingdom of Ireland, we cannot have that. And so, after all the great service that Meath rendered to us in the last episode, this is how we are going to repay them. By sieging down their territory. Ustian is still actually part of the army, so we can put him in there, but it's still going to be a tough siege. To our north, we actually have... So, Malcolm has died. A couple of things have happened. King Malcolm of Scotland has died. Has died from being ill, and the title has passed on to his son, Alpin. Of course, it's not going to show up, is it? But Malcolm's first wife was Flora. I'm not too sure, was he married to her or were they just betrothed? And he effectively inherited the title from his wife and managed to stabilise Scotland. There was a while there we were thinking we would be able to go into Scotland and do absolute wreck. What we're seeing is that our cousins are actually doing A-OK up in Lanrig. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split the army. And we're going to send these guys out against Kilcudbright. Now, they're not fighting against us, they're just hostile to us, but if we could do enough damage to them, it might help our relatives, who we are fighting against, to stabilise their holdings in Scotland. So if I am correct, we'd better actually just check. That army is without a commander. We will put it under the High King, and that army is without a commander because all of our mercenaries have left us. So that's going to be a bit of a nuisance down in that direction. We might as well just put it under the control of one of our great knights. And we're now told that King Alpin might join. So this is kind of one of the things that I'd actually be interested in seeing, is if part of the O'Brien family can actually end up inside the Kingdom of Scotland. We have a war to pay for. We could lose some stress. Things will work out in the end, as they always do. Cutting on essential military expenditure, I think we're quite confident at the moment that things will work out in the end. They always do. And Alpin has indeed joined. We are at war with Scotland. As Scotland prepares to march 2,000 men to join up with Ball-Clua's army, our wife is bringing 2,000 men up from Cornwall to join with us. We could try and get in and hit them before Scotland is in a position to join with them. There is that hostile army of the Isles. Let's see if we can get in and hit our cousin's army. Scotland's army has actually gone in against the Isles. And we're told that our culture has now entered the high medieval era. Murchad, who we gave a spinning top to at one stage, has been asking for a pet rabbit for a long time, and I told him I would get him one in 3 months if he displayed more focus in his studies. So we could take stress, or he could keep the trait fickle, plus 1 to intrigue. Not great. A changing mind is a healthy mind. Because he doesn't care about the rabbit. Well, we won't force a rabbit onto a man who doesn't want a rabbit. So many prisoners. So many torture opportunities. So a lot of them are children. I don't think we want to go torturing children. And we're not going to get a lot of money because their dad is broke. But we can start here. And just before we let that torture begin, here is something that I wanted to take a look at in the innovations section. So we've just been told that we have gone up into the high medieval era. We can get some hobbies, finally. Maybe some board games. Movies, maybe, who knows. But if we go back to early medieval, we can see down here, in cultural and regional, there is the Fianna, which is what I have selected. So we'll get the Fianna in 23 years. Not too sure we'll be seeing them in this playthrough. It is not uncommon for cairns, bands of young would-be warriors, to roam the countryside, seeking a chance to prove their worth in battle. These eager souls, often the landless scions of local kings, make up the Fianna, and will fight for any lord willing to offer them food and fame. So same culture, mercenary higher cost goes down, and levy size goes up by 3%. So I think this is one that has been modded in by Mandate. I don't think in the base game there is any of these kind of cultural and regional innovations for the Irish. So that's quite nice. That's quite fitting, I think, and time period appropriate. I wonder if you would see something like the Galloglass. There you go. Galloglass later on. Recruited from across the Gaelic coast of western Scotland, the Galloglass are the elite warrior class trained from youth incepts. They are both retained by local Norse Gael lords and sent overseas as mercenaries. What does it actually give you? Oh, special men-at-arms. Nice. So there you go. So some appropriate, very appropriate innovations for Ireland added into the Tip Volume 2 mod. So we are sending our poor guest to the rack. Just as our forces land in this region, we'll probably start by just trying to maybe siege down part of the area and get that disembarkation penalty knocked off. Here is our wife, Deirdre. Sometimes I think that there is no one I would rather spend my time with than my wife, Deirdre. So she gained some opinion of us. I've split out the army because I was hoping that we could actually put them sieging down another area, but they're going to lose A tremendous amount of troops. Here is Imag, our courtier, who we married to Thuhel, and they have had a son who has indeed gotten that robust trait. That's fantastic. From his mother, that is Imag. Well, Shukloin. We'll keep that. So there's Mordo, who had the Herculean trait, so that hasn't been passed on. It has been diluted ever so slightly. We have learned that the Queen of England, has taken a lover. That's good to know. And we can see that that person we tortured in our prisons, they died. The Queen of England has made of money. She has given us. She will pay us a lot of money. Oh boy, she will pay us a lot of money. That's more money than we've ever gotten off the Pope. So Scotland is pretty heavily engulfed in war. We should now be in a position to send in our armies in two separate directions. We are seeing Dol Clua heading out to sea to see what they can see. They are going for Evonia. Or are they going in? And they're not going in against Evonia. They're coming out. Can't really make up their minds. We're seeing actually Ulster is involved in this region. There's Scotland with its armies wandering around. So total chaos and anarchy in this region. So poor old Congus of the Efiocruk. He was in our prison. We tortured him, ransomed him out. He then declared war on his new ruler, and he has been defeated. We're seeing that Dalnara is under siege from Scotland. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Lanrig. We're not having a great old time here in Carrick. An acquaintance of ours, Gilacomon, has died. The devil, how did he end up blind? Do we care? We're going to march our forces across, and we're going to see if we can hit the Scottish army. It's entirely possible we won't actually be able to... Nope, we've hit them. They have given battle. We have a nose for profit. I read that initially as a Norse for profit. An exquisite assortment of wares. If my lord has the coin, we have plenty of English money. 27% chance that we're going to get 100... Go on. We lost 15 and got 50 quid. Not the worst. We have indeed hit that Scottish army, sent them backpacking. And probably we've been a bit too efficient. We have gotten ourselves the morsel of St. David, just in case anybody was hungry. And before we could even, just the threat of our armies sieging down part of Carrick was enough to bring this war to an end. Oh, and the wife's pregnant. In England, our spy master, Uthmaroin, has discovered an unbeliever. One of the English are turning towards the insular heresy, the degenerate... Oh, wait, no, we're the... Wait, no, fair play to them. No, that's a good thing. So the sign of a weak soul. That's kind of impressive that our wife has become pregnant. She hates us. She's 43. She's a drunkard. And of course, she was the mother of Anya, who passed away from being sickly. She has a lot of very interesting claims, which is pretty much what we married her for. So I was thinking of divorcing her, because I didn't think we'd have any children. But there you go. And we're trying to sway our bishop, but more importantly, we have won our war for the petty kingdom of Meath. With all of their Irish holdings now lost, I'd be interested to see if Congus would accept vassalization within the Kingdom of Scotland. In Ireland, however, we can see that Connacht has gotten itself into more trouble. We don't care about that. After almost 100 years, closing in on it, about 75-ish years, we are in a position to form the Kingdom of Ireland. And historically, of course, 1169 represents the Norman invasions, but in and around that time period, maybe within a decade or two, maybe one more generation of the O'Connor dynasty ruling, you could have seen Ireland, I won't really say centralizing, but effectively forming what would have been a kingdom, a modern kingdom at the time. Ireland was moving in that direction and probably would have done so within a short space of time if it had been left to its own devices. So I think it's quite appropriate that it's taken us until now all of the anarchy that this family has gone through. Is this a trinket that we've gotten? It actually is a trinket. So we'll deal with that one first of all. The Morsel of St. David. Clergy opinion +2. So we're equipped with all manner of things, and we will finally... What's the easiest way of doing this? Finally, we are in a position. We have the money and the land. Prior relatives have had one of those two, but Arthur is the first to have both. I will say the Éireann court is gibberish. Éireann means Ireland, so the Ireland court. Uncourt Nahéireann would be, if you were to put the whole thing into Irish, the mixing of English and Irish, it generally leads to gibberish like this. So the Gaelic court, the Éireannach court. We'll move on. As High King, you have new duties and responsibilities. You will now be expected to regularly hold court, solving the disputes of the realm, and letting your courtiers take part in your daily routines. Ir Gálach is looking sternly at me, or in a direct, almost lecturing way. I thought it said Ir Gálach is looking sternly at me in my direction. Perhaps there is also some surprise in his eyes. I think there's surprise in the eyes of a lot of people at this stage, because it's taken us a while. He starts to unfold a beautiful banner bearing the emblem of House Uvrien. One of the ways in which the world will now judge your rule is by how you adorn and care for your royal court. I have taken the liberty to have this made as a gift to mark the beginnings of your royal tenure. Let them see their new High King. We will enter the royal court. We will enter the royal court. So here we go. We have nothing to display. We have nobody to sit in the seat next to us because our wife is busy. She's off in Cornwall governing. We have court artifacts. I suppose this is the most important thing. Let us put the Toirdelbach dynasty banner behind us, and over here we will hang the Ivrian house banner. Actually, you know what? That's a nicer banner. We might move those around at some stage. One of the things that the airification of our lands has done is that it has opened up much better and stronger marriage alliances for our children. So here is Muel Martin. Now, when I say better, I mean better in terms of military alliances. So yeah, we'll marry him out to account in Orvieto. If we look at his poor... How far back do we have to go? If we look at one of his poor brothers, there is Murchad. Oh no! Murchad's wife, or who he's betrothed to, is in prison. Oh. She's in our prison. After the conquest of Meath, Feradach has ended up in our court. He's a member of our court now. Here is his daughter. We will negotiate her release for a weak hook. Here is his wife. We will ransom her back to him for 6 quid. We'll be nice to him. I say that, but we've most of his family in here as well. There's his son. We'll get a weak hook on him as well. And dressed as we are in our big fancy hat and our big cloak and everything, we're going to descend down into our dungeon. Not too sure when we took this woman prisoner. I think maybe in our siege in Scotland. Health is not great. Health is not great. And we are going to make it even worse. So it's the sweet kiss of the whip. And she's going to tell us the secret that she's a non-believer. Well, that's great, but you also have no money. We could say that we're not done with her or take her back to her cell. Yeah, we'll learn the secret and we'll let her out. And we have that alliance. We're still on the verge of a breakdown from the amount of stress that we have. The only problem is we're not going to lose all that much. We're not actually even going to lose enough to knock us out of the scenario, or to knock us out of being stressful. It's become quite expensive. It's become quite expensive. We're going to hold off until that war in Ulster ends, and we'll try and vassalize them. We'll try and vassalize them and get Ulster into our domain. We have a pop-up in the Kingdom of Éire, or Unreacht na Ireland, as it would be known as in Irish. We're into the throne room. I couldn't remember where I was supposed to click there for a while. A flock of robed men burst into my throne room. They're searching for a head that rolled in this direction. You have my leave to search the castle. So we spend some grandeur, which we don't have a lot of at the moment. Lorne will become our rival, however. A 22% chance that we find a long-forgotten antiquity. Is there any chance of finding the antiquity here? Or we gain 10 court grandeur, Lone gains some opinion, and the cult is intimidated. Yeah, we'll give out to them. Oh, the wife came back. So a couple of things have happened. Poor owl Furduck has actually passed away. So it was after a lengthy torture session. Well, it wasn't me. And we had just released his wife, and we had just released his son as well, actually. Finn Shnachta, who was completely bankrupt. We see that our primary wife is with child. And what's quite interesting is that we have two sons, heir to the Kingdom of Éire and the Duchy of West Wales, which I presume is Cornwall. I know this is the thing that Mandead does is localizes some of the names. So, and what do you? You're getting Leicester and an earldom and Leinster. Oh, boys. So we could actually see part of this region incorporated at some stage into the Kingdom of Ireland. So we're seeing that a war has been won, and our daughter's been taken prisoner. And Mordo, the great knight of the kingdom, Mordo has died of old age at 64 years of age. That's going to put us in a pretty bad position with knights at the moment. Connacht is stabilizing itself to a degree. Still not in a great situation. What we want is this war in Ulster to come to an end, because once it does, we will be able to take possession of try to vassalize the region up here, and then that will give us a reason to go to war to take Argyll. And after that, then we could think about maybe offering vassalization to a diminished Connacht. Our daughter, this is the other thing I forgot about, actually has been taken prisoner. You've made terrible mistakes. You were married to one of your uncles, he died. You've gone off and married another one of your uncles. There's our niece and granddaughter. And you are in the prison of Mahoon, or Mothcamoin, in Ulster. And you're sick. And Guinevere has given us another daughter. Praise Saint Breed for Sloina. I'm not too sure if we'll be able to push any claims with that child. We have progressed down the stewardship lifestyle tree yet again. Now, what do we want to do now? What do we want to do? That's not much good to us. I don't know where we're going to be at war a huge amount, and in general, do you know what? I don't know if I want to extort my subjects, because I don't think my subjects have a ton of money. Golden Obligations has been of great benefit to us. And again, we could start looking at reducing construction costs and possibly leaving some bit of a legacy behind us. What does Arthur want to do now? What does Arthur want to do now that he has secured the High Kingship? Now that he is on the verge of securing positions for his children in Cornwall, his grandchildren in France, obviously uniting the island under his rule and converting it all to Irish speaking or to Irish names is one thing that he would be looking to do. We have 2 remaining prisoners. Patrick, we will release for a weak hook. We'll release him for a weak hook. We don't have any great martial figures that we could actually use to train him. His grandfather is the Prince of Gwynedd, so we'll negotiate his release. Our dread is at 100. Is there any point in torturing this person? I'm not too sure. I forget where we can check how much more dark insights we have to gain. We might be able to do it this way. Dark insights prowess is +3 and intrigue is +2. So we have 5 more to gain. Do you know what? There you go. And we got some intrigue. So poor Owl Roche gets a taste of the whip. We'll see now if we can ransom them out. We'll get a weak hook. And Patrick was only too glad to get out. Only too glad. And our primary wife gives us a daughter, Ailish, or Eilish. We might change that because it's too close to a previous jester that we had. We've had a lot of more aids. Aoife, Poilfla, Alva. Murchad, our eldest son, who we are raising. First of all, he wanted a rabbit. Then he wanted a ragdoll. Then he didn't want the rabbit. Now he doesn't want the ragdoll. So he got fickle the last time. Content is going to bring his intrigue down. Or if we give him trusting, that's going to bring his intrigue down even further. Murchad, I have a feeling that you're going to be a disappointment. And while we're here with the poor man, this is an individual who is one day going to sit as King of Ireland and Duke of West Wales. We'll break that betrothal into Meath. We're going to spend some piety, or not piety, but prestige, and it's going to make Meath very unhappy. Does it give us any better marriage alliances? Do you know what? No. Well, they're better in terms of military figures, but we're not actually getting into any great kingdoms or power bases. There's the Von Claw family. We saw them in the last series. And Guinevere, the poor thing. What a difficult life she's had. She's been murdered. Oh, well. Now we don't mind too much about this, but I think we would be very alarmed at the fact that that there is a murderer in our court. Wife, as you draw your last breath, relief washed over me. Perhaps I should be ashamed, but in truth, There was no love lost between us. Finally, I am free to start my life anew. Well, you've had an empty wife slot there for the last while, so you've had an opportunity to start your life anew. With ages, this is a woman who had a tremendous amount of claims that we were hoping to pass on to some children. So I don't know what's gonna happen here. We could push some of the babby's claims into the south of Wales. How interesting. But for now, our poor wife has passed away, and what we are going to do, we're no longer overwhelmed by stress for that. Thanks, wife. We are going to... Oh lord, where the hell is the Kingdom of Ireland? We're going to withdraw you back to Dublin. So he's actually changed his capital down to... Because I think he did have his capital in Dublin for a while, but he has actually changed the capital down to Tuavaun. We'll send you to Tuavaun, and we will see if we can figure out who killed our wife. That we hated. Our daughter Moraid has recovered from pneumonia. Still in the prisons of Ulster, we see that the Isles, or not the Isles, but Iceland has landed in the lands of the Dál Fiatach. We will keep you searching. Iceland is very intelligently not entering our lands. They have just hit Armagh. And Murchad is, you devil. Mahone wants 50 quid for the daughter. Because she's lost... so Agnes has lost her land. Now you're grand. Keep her. Now, Mahoon's war in Ulster has just ended, and it deposed our granddaughter, which is why that ransom came to us instead of our daughter. And we're trying to offer vassalization to Mahoon. He won't accept. A base reluctance minus 45, minus 40 because we're of a different faith. So they have converted to Catholicism. That was a rather foolish decision. So Iceland has actually taken one of our relatives captive. We have brought the war to an end in a single battle. Mahoon has been taken prisoner. The fool, the utter fool. I thought that they were actually going to end up at war with Iceland's army. They had just called in their allies in this region. The silly fool. We have the ability to torture him and do all sorts of stuff to him. We won't bother. It's been 2 months. We have basically marched our army out of Dublin. We were heading for Tyrconnell. Their army pushed into Tyrone, probably to try and meet up with the Isles, but they failed. We will enforce our demands. So he will become our vassal. To my liege. That's better. The Macmurcha family is not doing great. They've only 4 surviving members, 3 male. There is Mahoon, the Duke of Ulster. Hasn't had any children yet. Here is his primary heir, actually, Art, who is the only insular member of the family. The other 2 are Catholic. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grant him the title of Dalnardi. And I don't know, do I actually have to transfer him? I do indeed. So what do? We will come to Tyrone, and we will grant him a vassal in Dalnardi. We can also demand his conversion because he is absolutely terrified of us. So we will get that from him. And actually, here's a member of our family who has also converted to Catholicism. There's a chance that he won't accept. We'll leave him alone a while. But he'd want to get with the plan. Now, the Kingdom of Ireland almost stretches in a contiguous line. We still have England getting in the way, and I'm not too sure we'll be able to deal with England, but our big issue at the moment is Connacht. Connacht have formed an alliance with Poland and Scotland. Now, of course, we could just offer him vassalization. He can get 7,500 troops together. That alliance to Scotland is the main interesting one. Of course, we could push up in this region in a lightning attack. We could vassalize him and just take Argyll off of him that way. But Connacht has been nothing but trouble and devilment to us. We're going to take Argyll by force on the next episode. We will see if Arthur can build a few more buildings, possibly to cement his position in history. I was thinking about having him build a keep down in this direction, but I think we will have one more episode on the adventures of Arthur as he establishes the Kingdom of Ireland in its early years. Thank you for joining me on this episode, and I hope to see you on the next one.